Maria and Luke, I should say at the beginning that the views I express are my personal views. I'm Chairman of the Government's Climate Change Advisory Council, and they mayn't necessarily disown what I'm going to say, but I'm speaking on my own behalf. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a very interesting article in the Journal of Economic Perspectives, one of the leading economics journals, by 2 French sociologists and a French economist, doing a critique of the economics profession, in particular the US economics profession. And one of the things that they mentioned was that economists rarely cite research from any other discipline, whereas most other social scientists frequently cite economics research. So I particularly appreciate the opportunity to interact with a range of other disciplines. Over the last 20 years working on the economics of climate change, I have obtained great value and fun from working with, for example, engineers and publishing a range of papers jointly with engineers, sociologists, psychologists. And I think that this is a particular area where a multidisciplinary approach is essential, and I particularly welcome the opportunities provided by this workshop. I'm going to talk on 3 or 4 different dimensions of the problem, and it's in the nature of reflections. I'm not sure how this would make a coherent paper at the end. First of all, on climate change and the challenge, and this is a unique policy problem in my view. It brings in an ethical dimension, and I'll come back to that. Second thing I want to reflect on is questioning of science. And is global warming for real? And there's the questioning of the climate science, and then when you come to the policy area, economics, there's other dimensions of the questioning. I want to say something briefly on the kind of policy approach that would be taken. And finally, I want to say something on the distributional effects. Because if you don't think about the distributional effects, you will not understand some of the opposition, some of the reasons for questioning of the science. In terms of my own personal experience, I've worked for 12 years as a civil servant and subsequently for 35 years as a researcher. All the time, you're trying to look at it from a narrow disciplinary point of view. You're trying to be objective in a sense, and looking at questions like how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions at least costs, how to restructure the tax and benefit system to benefit those in poverty. And you're abstracting from what is right or ethical. And that has been my background. Values are always there, but they're not necessarily made explicit. However, this particular problem is different, where I think that and I'm going to come on to it, that you have to think about it from an ethical point of view, and it makes me uncomfortable moving into a dimension which in my professional life I have not been used to. The world faces dramatic changes as a result of human behavior. However, the problem from a policy point of view is these changes will take decades to play out, probably not centuries. So this is about future generations more than the present. That when you say we've got to take urgent action, you can't say to people, this will benefit you seriously, or even benefit your children. And this is a very different policy problem than other policy problems for that reason. And the burden of climate disaster will fall on future generations. And the reason for taking action is, in a sense, altruism. And it is difficult for policymakers, and certainly for economists, when you're saying you've got these the right policy answers, when you can't say, actually, or you will benefit a little because climate change will have an impact in the next 20, 30 years. But it's not for me, it's not for you, it's for coming generations, and that makes it very difficult. Also, the fact there isn't a simple answer to this question. How do we deal with the problem? And I'm particularly conscious of the many distractions for policymakers. Distractions are constantly dull our consciousness to this problem because it is something which is so long-term in nature. In the EU, we've had the financial economic crisis, asylum seekers, Brexit. So heads of government have not spent a lot of time on this issue. They might want to, but all the time there are distractions. I'm particularly conscious that I do an economics column for the Irish Times, and I filed one on the economics of climate change on Tuesday. I had to go back, and that's been long-fingered. It's the following week. I have to do something reflecting on the economics implications of the recent election result. All the time, climate change is pushed back because it's not for today, and that is a problem. So, how do we communicate the problem? You're dealing with humans, and there's a complex response to information, and the ability of people to absorb information is also difficult. And one of the things which I want to say in terms of policy response, one of the advantages in terms of how you communicate with people, the market is an important way of communicating through price. It's a simple signal. However, the market is in many ways imperfect. And it's interesting, one document which you probably haven't looked at is the Papal Encyclical on Climate Change, which sets out, and it tries to address not just a Catholic audience, not just a Christian audience, but a much wider audience, the ethical case for taking action. And I found it very effective in that regard. But I was pondering setting it as a project for my students at Trinity to critique the economics of it, because the Pope doesn't like markets. And the advantage of markets is it is a simple way of communicating. If something is expensive, then maybe you shouldn't do it. So that we need to, in terms of solutions, must encompass the ways of communicating with people. And a way of communicating with people are markets. But I'll come on to it if I have time. There is a whole range of information which says actually that people are complex, and they don't just, things are more expensive, they don't just buy something cheaper, that you've got to communicate in a wide range of different ways. It's also a global problem, and communicating with the outside, with the world as a whole. And we've seen President Obama signed up to the Paris Agreement, thankfully. So the weight of the US was important in bringing it into legal force last week. Under a new administration, that would not have happened, and there might have been difficulties bringing it into force. Once the US has signed up, you can't stop it from, if Trump can't stop it from taking legal force, whatever that will mean in the United States. The problem is also that people talk about we should set targets, but just legislating, telling people to be good, setting targets means little. It's about taking the action and facing up to the fact that taking action to halt progress of climate change is going to cost us, and telling people, yes, this is something we will have to make sacrifices today for future generations. It's difficult, and you have to make the case. Unlike some people say you should attempt to disguise the costs and tell people, oh, there are lots of benefits for you. One of the ways is saying there are going to be lots of jobs in renewable energy. Yes, there are, but that's going to cost you more at the moment than burning coal to produce electricity. So people try and disguise the costs, and I have a certain sympathy for it. But I think we have to be upfront and say, yes, this is something that is going to make a major effort from everybody worldwide. Also, I was at an interesting lecture on the probability of extreme weather events in Ireland 2 years ago, organised by the Environment Protection Agency. And they said that extreme weather events are moving from now once every 70 years to once every 50 years. A number of people in the audience said, we don't like this. This is saying it could be only once in every 50 years. Can you not say it's going to be really serious? Because then people take it more seriously. As a scientist, or a social scientist, I think you tell the truth and shame the devil, as I was always told. That you can't, exaggerating the problem is not the answer. The consequences long-term are so horrific. Whenever those consequences come into play, that we must do something about it. In terms of questioning science, it's interesting, I read the popular science magazine, Scientific American, and unusually they had a very political editorial, I think, in August, about the people decrying science. And in the November issue, they have, I think, 5 different areas where science is absolutely conclusive on certain things, but people reject it. One which they mentioned was measles vaccination, where the campaign against measles vaccination and the association with autism, which is not there in the science, has done huge damage, and many people have died as a result of the failure to vaccinate. And it is something you can quantify a real cost to society from people discrediting the science. A second area, which isn't mentioned there, which I'm concerned about, the one thing I would have liked to put up was the James Thurber cartoon of the danger of electricity leaking. That there is this myth that high voltage transmission wires will cause major health risks. And it is of vital national interest to build a new set of wires between Northern Ireland and the Republic. I was on a committee looking at this issue. But there was a television programme done on this, and they asked me to appear, and I unwisely agreed to appear. And I said, look, this is a huge economic and social benefits to Ireland building this set of wires. And then they put up a scientist who said, this is going to kill loads of people, in spite of the fact that all the science says that is not the case, that there is no evidence that it's dangerous. And there were complaints about the programme. They said it was balanced. We had a person for and a person against. But putting an economist up saying, oh, it's going to be good for you, and putting a scientist saying it's going to kill you, you're onto a loser. That is not balance. So how you present science, and I'll come back to this, the scientific evidence, it is becoming ever more complicated. Of course, the issue which we're concerned here is climate change. And climate science has developed. When I began working on this in 1991, it was pretty certain that climate change was being driven by human behaviour. But now it is conclusive that there may be a question of the timing, how long it would take to play out, but there's no room for doubt. However, there are many doubters. There's this, as Maria talked about, the distrust of experts, and I think that this is a major problem. And it's an interesting article in today's Irish Times by Carol Lillington on the social media. And once you have somebody saying, oh, this is going to kill you, and you have a flood of associated tweets and whatever, it's difficult. We're moving away from an era where journalism was a job where you reported in newspapers, you reflected on it, and you were expected to do a bit of research. I've found over the years that dealing with journalists from the New York Times are extremely difficult. With other journalists, you give an interview and they take it. The New York Times come back on everything, fact-checking. We need 2 pieces of evidence on everything. And that's the kind of journalism there was in the past, but today it's different, which makes it difficult that expertise is no longer valued in the same way, and there are ways of communicating which get round the kind of checks that were in the old world. In Ireland, there are relatively few climate doubters, and you could say that that's good. There isn't major discussion on this, but the problem is there isn't major discussion on it. It is people are not interested enough to be doubters. So yes, people here say, or there's one member of Parliament who is a climate doubter, but he really stands out of the 160 odd that he's the only one. Is this good? In some ways it's good, but you could see it as bad that the people of Ireland really don't care about climate change. And it is difficult to build a coalition for effective action where people are bored, disinterested, focusing on other things. In some countries there's much more active debate, and we see in particular in the United States. And the downside is that huge opposition to taking action. I'm afraid that the election results this week are going to have major implications in terms of the United States. And the losers from policy action will promote denial. And they're going to be losers. The point I made at the beginning was this is going to cost everybody. And some are going to come back to the distribution issue. Some are going to be affected more. And how do you deal with this? You deny the science. Of course, the upside is that there are quite a lot of people in the United States who take this issue more seriously than on average Irish people, so that the incidence of denial may show an incidence of concern on the other side. I've talked about sort of the physical sciences, and you can come up with scientific certainties there. 2 atoms of hydrogen combined with 1 of oxygen, you'd never get 4 and 1. And there are certain certainties, but when you come to the social sciences and debate in economics, there is much more validity in debate. There isn't an economic certainty. So when you come up with these are the policy options, they're options. These are the right policies. There's far more room for debate on what's right or wrong. And one of the things I found over 40 years in research, the importance of communicating your results to non-scientists, to non-economists. And I remember in the 1990s in the debate on joint monetary union, one leading Irish economist appeared on a radio programme saying he thought monetary union was a bad idea. I disagreed with him, but he had a very cogent argument. When he went back to university that morning, the head of the department said, "What are you doing wasting your time on the media? You should be doing academic research." And that is the wrong answer. But it is painful. It takes time. I remember talking to actually the chairman of the Danish Climate Change Advisory Council 20 years ago said to me, he only did work in theoretical economics because he would get 3 good articles a year out of it, whereas if he did apply policy regularly, he'd only get 1. He is now reformed and chairman of the Climate Change Advisory Council in Denmark. So it is a problem that scientists have to go out and communicate to an audience that we are not used to. And one of the particular areas in economics where there has been an interesting debate, and it goes back to what I was saying about it being an ethical issue. In economics, you look at the costs and benefits of different policies, and you discount the future at a rate, and normally it's 2, 3, 4%. With climate change, if you use the standard approach used in economics, you don't care about climate change because it's going to be so far in the distance that you will have discounted, it's worth nothing. And there was the Stern report, first of all, came out arguing for a very low rate of discount. And there's a debate in the Journal of Economic Literature on this, and a former colleague of mine took a very contrary view that you should still use a high rate of discount. But basically, I'm not too concerned about what rate of discount you use. The answer is this is an ethical issue. And yes, you can make it into the standard economic framework by applying a 0 discount rate so that the costs to society in 70 years' time are worth what they would be today. But I think you're better off, rather than trying to bend the science, saying, yes, this is an ethical problem, and we've got to deal with it. In terms of the task, in terms of policy, first of all, no regrets policies. The science is certain that climate change is being driven by human behavior, but the timing of the consequences is pretty uncertain. But what we do know is the costs of it being more serious in the medium term are going to be much greater than the costs of taking action. That there is an asymmetry to the costs. That the consequences of things go really bad are truly awful, and there's a huge cost to society. The cost of taking action prematurely is much less. So the bias of policy should be on a no regrets policy. Take action even though you may be moving a bit too fast. You ex post, but we don't know the future. It's interesting how economic research, the first major set of research in this area was published by OECD in 1990, the OECD Green Model. And it showed that a global solution was necessary. They suggested a world limit on emissions which would be tradable, and it would have involved major transfers from rich countries to poor countries. It would have been the right solution. It would have worked, and we'd be in a very different position if it had been implemented. But one of the things it did was it made clear who would be the very big losers. And OPEC in particular were going to be huge losers. And since that day, OPEC have done everything to sabotage world agreement in this area. So in disclosing winners and losers, you produce the debate in a way which can make it difficult it's only crystallized national policy decisions. In terms of, I'm not going to talk about the kind of policy solutions in detail, One of the key areas is to get the prices right. And it goes back to what I said about the market. How do you communicate with everybody in the world? Everybody in the world is aware of the price of oil, the price of gas, and it's a way of communicating. And so that is essential. But to reach a solution to the problem, there are two ways. We can reduce our standard of living dramatically. And if we are to be fair to the rest of the world, it will be a dramatic fall in the standard of living to reduce emissions using under current circumstances. That if that were the only way of doing it, it would be the correct, it would be the ethical thing to do. But the problem is you are not going to get a buy-in from people today to take a massive cut of their living standards today to benefit future generations. Fortunately, there is an alternative, and that is technical change, new technologies. And if we are to get there, if we are to solve this problem, these technologies have got to be developed. And how do you go about it? And an essential part of this is to make it profitable for people to develop technologies that stop us emitting carbon dioxide. And in fact, the price response from households in particular to raising prices is limited. And households are complicated in how they behave. But investors, if they see an opportunity for making a load of money out of producing energy without emitting carbon, then they will go and do it. So that is going to be an important part of the solution. But it takes time for technology to take off. It's interesting, actually, the motor car. There's an interesting set of photographs for New York, Fifth Avenue, I think, in 1900 and 1910. In 1900, it was all horses. In 1910, it was all cars. So you got rapid adoption. But the time to adopt technology is long. And that's why getting the price right now, telling people you've got to invent new things, new ways of doing things today is essential. If you think about electric cars they may well be the way of the future. It's approaching the stage where they will be economic, maybe in the early years of the next decade. But the problem is it takes 5 to 7 years to build a factory to make them. And if you have to replace all the world's factories to produce electric cars rather than cars using petrol or diesel, it's going to be the 2030s. Even if today electric cars are the answer, before you would have replaced, and people replace their cars every 10 years, and the cars have a life of 10 years. So the time scale on this, the urgency there for taking action now is very great if we're to get to it, and if we're to reach a solution. In terms of policies, I think we need to understand human behavior, and that's why increasingly my former colleagues in the ESRI are working with psychologists, sociologists in this area. Price is a simple and effective way of communicating with people, but actually there's a load of research, there's very interesting work done in a very large sample, putting in smart meters and charging for electricity and charging people very high price, some of the sample very high prices for peak electricity and lower for at night, and others standard unchanging charge. And what they found was that if people just received their 2 monthly electricity bill, you got a small response in the people who had very high prices. But if there was a meter on the wall in the kitchen, then they did respond. So just getting the price right, you may get no response. So it is important to understand how people behave and communicate with them in the way that they understand. In dealing with industry or business, they are more responsive to the price signal, but even there's research also done by my colleagues which shows that the incentives may be wrong. There's an interesting study done on third level education in Ireland. Universities actually had done a reasonably good job on energy efficiency and installing combined heat and power and taking action. Institutes of technology had done nothing. Why? Because universities had their own budgets. Institutes of technology were controlled from the Department of Education. Unless the latter could show that they would make back all the cost of the innovation within 1 year, then they weren't allowed to do it. So there are issues not just for households in terms of how we communicate, And this is something which I think a lot more work needs to be done on. The final thing I just want to talk about, and I think it's a really important aspect, and it's something which people fail to take account of at their peril, and that's the distributional effects of tackling climate change. First of all, there's an issue of producers versus consumers. And in the early 1990s, when I began doing work on this, on climate change and saying we needed to take action and this carbon tax was the way to go, there was a fair amount of opposition from the energy utilities who thought this is going to be bad for our business. Now, that they, partly because of their public good approach, they changed their approach over the 1990s. One way and you've got now buy-in from many of the opponents because you've created an emissions trading scheme where you grandparent, you give the right to pollute to incumbents for free for a lot of their emissions. So actually they're given something that is valuable. So there has been a buying off, and in the United States in terms of sulfur emissions as well, that one of the reasons why you do this is that you can buy off producers. But is this fair to consumers? In that, in particular in Germany, there's been a huge amount spent on promoting renewable energy. And it's interesting, in the German case, the costs are all imposed on households, and the research shows that poor households pay a higher share of their income in Germany to fund this than rich households. And industry pays nothing. And actually has been very limited opposition in Germany to the distribution effects. However, in Ireland, that is a hugely sensitive area. We've seen a disaster in charging for water. That if you cannot say what we're going to do is fair in terms of poor households, it's going to fail. Poor consumers, the reason why they're affected more is that electricity and heating is much higher share of their budgets than richer households. So you have to find a way, and the costs have got to rise for polluting. But we have to find a way of dealing with that. And one of the problems is, one of the solutions which people say, oh, you will give free electricity or free gas to poor households or whatever. The problem is every household has got to change behaviour. So that actually the way you deal with this is through the welfare system, if you have one. And one of the problems in the United States is there isn't a welfare system, that people at the bottom are going to suffer if you take action. And there isn't a mechanism or acceptance that they need to be compensated. And how do you oppose this? You can get a coalition of businesses that are going to lose, with households that are going to lose, and you don't get change. So I think that the distributional effects are very important. Of course, the final thing is the distribution I talked about between producers and consumers, between poor households and rich households, and then there's between countries. And of course, the distributional effects of climate change itself are going to be very uneven. And just reading the popular science in this area and the kind of conclusions which we may hear more about at this workshop, that Ireland may be less affected. It's going to be costly, and adapting to it is going to be expensive. But there are going to be other countries who are going to be much worse affected. And what do you do about this? And getting a buy-in from those who are going to be less affected and rich countries to support those who are going to be more affected is very difficult. And in particular, if you told the people of Ireland you will have a Mediterranean climate, they might vote for it, where you're telling them actually it's going to be devastation across Africa, in islands in the Pacific, and it's more difficult to motivate people. Right, just to sum up, I think action is a moral imperative, and the problem is, for me, I'm not comfortable talking about ethics. I talk about economics, but it's also, there is a self-interest in this, that there will be we will suffer from the progress of climate change in the next 20, 30 years, but relatively little compared to the more distant future. I'm making the market part of the solution, and as I said, the Pope doesn't like markets, but if you don't have markets, there is no way of communicating with an audience, which is the people of the world. You've got to make the markets work for you in communication. But you've got to look at a wide range of other ways of communicating the urgency of action and what kind of action the people need to take. Technical change is essential, and research and development is part of it. It will be incentivized by prices, but it will also need extensive public support. And George Bush's, the Bush regime's approach to this was, people decried him, and for many good reasons, but it was spent US taxpayers' money on research, and that is part of the answer. But if you don't recognise upfront the fact that somebody's going to have to pay, the taxpayer is going to have to pay for it, and use the market to raise the funds, you're going to have a much smaller effect. Behavioural change is needed, and you've got to recognise the complexity of human behaviour. And finally, communicating the problem and the answers. Even if there's a willing audience, they may not hear or understand complex answers. And I think the changing nature of how policy is communicated to a much wider public, with changing media and so on, is something that we have to come to grips with. Thank you very much.